Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Um, Question. Why are we Americans fat, ick, and just all around unhealthy? Sure, I mean, we could be lack of willpower, maybe part of it, but I think there's a much bigger reason behind it. And I think it's our food. We all know that some things that we eat are not good for us, right? But you might not know that even when you're trying to eat clean or eat good food, you're often eating things that are literally banned in other countries. Take, for example, my nephew. He found out 2 years ago that he has celiacs, and he was 24 at the time. So this entire time growing up, he had no clue. So now everything that he eats has to be gluten-free. And I never realized how hard it would be to cook gluten-free. Now that he's living here, it's like, okay, well, what do I cook? I'm Italian, so everything I make is, like pasta, breads, this, that, and the other. He can't have any of that. So I'm teaching myself how to cook everything gluten-free. But everything that we buy, you literally have to read the ingredients. And when you read the ingredients, you can't even pronounce the ingredients. But what they are feeding us here, literally by the gallon here in America, is just terrible, awful, disgusting stuff that is literally banned in other countries. It's why you'll often hear stories of people who travel over to, say, Europe, for example, and they'll say, we ate that all the time, but we never felt sick, and we actually started to feel a lot better during our stay over in the other country. I'll never forget when my parents went back home to Sicily. They have a house, or they sold it, house in Sicily. And they said that their overall well-being was so much different. They said it was all clean eating. So why? Why is that, right? It's because when you're there, you're not eating the literal chemicals, poisons that are in our food here. So I do have a lot of explaining, okay? So let's start off here with additives that are banned in most other countries, but still used here in the US. I do have a more comprehensive list, okay? And this is pretty mind-blowing, and it's also depressing, if I'm going to be honest with you. So RBGH is the first one, okay? It's used to increase milk production in dairy cows. It's banned and restricted in the EU, in Canada, and other countries due to animal welfare and potential health risks. The second one is BVO. It is used in some soft drinks and sports drinks to stabilize the emulsion. It is banned in the EU, Japan, due to health concerns. The next one is ADA. It is used as a bleaching agent in flour and a dough conditioner. It's banned in the EU and Australia due to potential health risks. The next one is BHA and BHT, used as preservatives in various foods, including snacks and cereals. It's banned or restricted in parts of the EU and Japan due to potential carcinogenic effects. The next one is artificial colors. Now, I know I'm sure you've heard of a lot of artificial colors like blue, yellow, red, stuff like that, because maybe one of our kids is allergic to one of the colors. Okay, so it's used in candies and beverages and a lot of processed foods, and it's banned or restricted in Norway and Finland and Austria, among other countries, due to health concerns. The next one is olein. It's a fat substitute used in some snack foods, and it's banned in Canada and the EU due to gastrointestinal side effects. The next one is potassium bromate. It's used in flour as an improver to strengthen the dough. It's banned in EU and Canada and China, among others, due to carcinogenic concerns. The next one is arsenic. It's found in some animal feeds, especially in poultry industry. It's banned or restricted in the EU as well. So the next one is GMOs. Specific GMO crops are banned or heavily regulated in many, many countries, including much of the EU, due to environmental and health concerns. Now, the next one is propylbaraben. I know I didn't say that correctly, but let's go on. So it's used as a preservative in various food products, banned or restricted in the EU for use in certain foods due to potential endocrine disrupting effects. The next one is HFCS. While not banned in many countries, it's subject to higher regulations and less commonly used in countries like the EU due to health concerns. The next one is diacetyl. It's used for butter flavoring in microwave popcorn and other foods. It's restricted due to respiratory health concerns in occupational settings. And the next one is neonicotinoid pesticides. Now, this is not a food additive, but these pesticides are used on crops that are banned or restricted in the EU due to concerns about their impact on the bee populations. The next one is, I know everyone has heard about this, it's the trans fats, okay? It's used in processed foods or baked foods, severely restricted or banned in other countries due to health, the heart, okay, heart risks. Now, the next one are aluminum-based additives used in processed foods. It's like colorants, okay, to give food certain colors. It's restricted in some countries due to potential health risks. Now, the next one is theobromine. It's used in some baked goods and to enhance flavor in chocolate products. It's subject to regulation in some countries due to the effects similar to caffeine. Now, the next one is carrageenan, and this is used as a thickener and an emulsifier in dairy and other products. It's banned or restricted in infant formula in the EU due to digestive system concerns. Now, the next one is sodium nitrate. It's used for curing meats. Now, while not banned, it is more heavily regulated in some countries due to potential cancer risks. Now, the next one is red dye number 40. It's a common food dye restricted in parts of the EU and associated with hyperactivity in children. The next one is Soylent, okay? Yes, I know you're going to say Soylent Green, right? So this is a meal replacement product. It's banned in Canada for not meeting a meal replacement classification. Now, the next one is glyphosate-based herbicides. It's widely used in agricultural chemical, banned or restricted in several countries due to potential carcinogenic and environmental effects. Now, the next one is meat from cloned animals. Yes. So while not a substance, the sale of meat from cloned animals is allowed in the US, but banned or restricted in the EU. The next one is ethoxyquin. Yeah. Used as a preservative in pet foods and some human foods like spices. It's banned in the EU for certain uses due to potential health risks. The next one is acrylamide. It's not an additive, but a chemical that forms in some foods due to high temperature cooking, and EU has stricter regulations to limit exposure. The next one is TBHQ. Q. It's a preservative used in many processed foods. Limited use or restrictions in the EU due to potential health risks. The next one is chlorpyrifos. It's a pesticide used on crops, banned or restricted in the EU and other countries due to developmental risks. The next one is Velcorin. It's used in the beverage industry for microbial control. Restrictions vary due to toxicity concerns. The next one is methylsilicone, used in non-food products but can migrate to food from treatments like anti-foaming agents. Regulations are varied. The next one is phosphate additives used in various processed foods, most heavily regulated in some countries due to health concerns related to the heart. The next one is QUATS, QUATS, used in food processing, and it's used as antimicrobial agents. Restrictions vary due to potential health risks. The next one is ace sulfame potassium. It's an artificial sweetener. While approved in the US, it faces more scrutiny and limitations in other countries. Sucralose, another artificial sweetener. Some countries recommend more moderate consumption due to potential health risks. And the next one is titanium dioxide, used as a whitening agent in food, banned as a food additive in the EU due to concerns over nanoparticle effects on the health. So here's another list. I talked about the arsenic, all right? That's a literal rat poison, and it's approved for use in our food, but here in the US in certain quantities. Now, here is what I found out about what the FDA does with the arsenic. Okay, the FDA actively monitors and regulates the presence of arsenic in our foods within the US to ensure the safety of the food supply. Now, arsenic is a toxic element that can be present in food due to environmental contamination in soil, water, and the air. And the FDA's efforts to manage arsenic levels include testing foods for total arsenic, distinguishing between organic, which is less harmful, and inorganic, which is more harmful forms, and conducting risk assessments to understand the potential health risks associated with arsenic exposure from food. One significant focus has been on reducing arsenic exposure in foods commonly consumed by infants and young children, such as rice and rice products, because of their vulnerability to the harmful effects of these contaminants. Now, the FDA's actions include establishing action levels for inorganic arsenic in infant rice cereals and apple juice to minimize exposure. The action level for inorganic arsenic in infant rice cereal, for example, aims to protect the health of the most vulnerable populations, including babies, by setting a recommended maximum amount of inorganic arsenic allowed in these products. And the FDA emphasizes the importance of a balanced diet to reduce the risk associated with arsenic and other contaminants, suggesting that diversifying foods can help limit exposure. Additionally, the FDA's Closer to Zero plan outlines steps to reduce exposure to arsenic, lead, cadmium, and mercury in foods eaten by babies and young children to the lowest possible levels. Okay, so now let's take specific foods, and I think you'll be blown away by this. Starting with Kraft macaroni and cheese. Look at what your kids eat in the USA versus what they give the kids in the UK. And we all know that mac and cheese isn't the most healthy in the first place. But say you're trying to eat better and you go for oatmeal. Now, which one would you want to eat? Okay. Now let's do Mickey D's French fries. Now let's try Mountain Dew. Now check this out. This is the list of ingredients for Doritos. And now one of my favorite not anymore, but cereals, Frosted Flakes. Tony the Tiger is all hopped up on that crap here in the USA. It is not so great anymore, is it? Now back to the food. I think it's going to open up a lot of eyes, which I hope it does. But is your food fake? Yes, I think we know it is on some level. We all know it's full of chemicals and fillers and all sorts of other toxic things. And we know that, but sometimes, a picture is worth 1,000 words, like the pictures I just showed you. So I know you know deep down already, and so do I, but I was stunned to see all the ways it is fake and it is toxic. Okay. So, all right, guys, I am out of here. I will see you in the next one. Okay. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping. And as always, fearless. Ciao.